Hey, Kelly. Who's our special guest today?
Well, it's one of my favorite businesses. She happens to be my biz bestie, and that would be you, my friend, Jolene Mills. We're going to be
Oh, you make
talking about the business suite and all the things that you are doing and bringing into the business world, and I am so excited to talk about it. And to be honest, like I learned things about you and your business that I didn't even know yet. And I kind of thought I knew just about everything. So I'm really excited for other people to learn about your business as well.
you're making me blush. This is going to be fun and a little bit embarrassing.
No,
So,
it's not embarrassing. It's awesome.
all right, let's do this.
All right. Hi there, villagers. I'm Kelly,
And I'm Joelene, and this is the Success Through Community podcast.
where we believe that solopreneur success really does take a village.
I see it really as the lifeline.
It's been essential in getting my business to where it is today.
We're talking with women just like you who know that the secret to their success is their community.
Have you found your village yet? Okay, so let's go ahead and start with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So first thing that comes on top of your mind, short and sweet answers, because I'm just gonna throw a bunch of stuff at you. So okay, so what is the best thing about having your own business?
Time freedom.
What is the hardest thing about having your business?
Time freedom.
I like that answer because it's so true. What is your business mission statement or your I help statement as a
Oh geez, I haven't even thought about that in a while. I guess it would be I help women start their online coaching business. That's not my mission statement, but that's my hat. I help.
Yeah, love it. Describe you in 5 words
Me.
or less. Yes.
Okay. Bubbly, fun. Oh God, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. Honest, spontaneous, and I talk a lot. Can I go with a lot? That's 2 words.
Verbose.
Plenty.
Verbose. Yes.
Verbose,
Love it.
plenty.
Yes. And I know you well enough to know that all of those things are true. In what physical location are you the most productive?
I would have to say in my office, like at my desk when there's nobody else around. I have a shared office. So when I'm by myself in my office.
And what time of day do you get your best work done?
In the morning, sadly. I'm not a morning person, but I tend to work better in the morning.
And besides yours, because I know that you and I share an online community, what is your favorite online community?
There's one called the Email Sound Booth that I'm a part of that I really, really like being a part of. It's all about email marketing.
And why is that your favorite?
I think it's because the owner creator is just so fun and kooky and smart. She really knows what she's talking about. And the community is very supportive. They accept everything and everyone, and everything's a celebration, I guess.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So see, that already gives myself and the listeners a huge window into who you are as a person. So now let's talk more about your business, because that's why we're all here, right? We're all business owners, solopreneurs, and just trying to like make it work. Trying to figure stuff out. So and recognizing that we all have very different answers to the questions that you just answered. Mm-hmm. And yet how we're going to approach things, we can learn from how other people are doing things and how that's going to help us be more successful or, whatever that might be. So let's talk a little bit about your business. And let's just start with, you kind of gave us in your I help statement a little window into what your business is, but tell us a little bit more about what is your business? What is it called? What is your goal? What do you do?
Okay. Well, it is basically my overarching and umbrella company is just Joelene Mills Co. because I do have multiple businesses. But the one that we are talking about here today is my online coaching business. So I help women get started with their online coaching business. And I do this with a membership I call the Business Suite. And inside that membership, it's just step-by-step details on how to actually get started in an online coaching world, whether you are certified or not, whatever industry you want to get into, whether it's life, business, health, wellness, whatever. And I just basically do that with them through the business suite via email. And we meet up from time to time and have little chit chats and go that route. And then once they're all set up and everything, the goal is to help them thrive and actually help them manage a company, because being a coach is one thing, managing a company is another thing. So there's a lot of that in there too.
Awesome. And what was it that sparked your idea to start this business? I know you mentioned you have multiple. So where did this one come from?
This one came specifically from my other company, which is a photography company. I've been a photographer, weddings and portraits for over 20 years now. And when you're in the industry that long, you tend to mentor a lot of up and coming photographers. They always want to come out and carry your bag and learn from you when you've been doing it for so long. So what ended up happening overall was a lot of coffee dates, a lot of helping, and you cannot teach someone how to be a photographer other than you can teach them the technical aspects and the business aspects. You can't teach them the style, you can't teach them the creativity, right? So that's not what I was doing. I was helping them get their business licensing and helping them figure out marketing and how to handle, a wedding contract and, trouble clients and stuff like that. So when I decided to step back and slow down with my photography business, I decided to start this online business on helping others get started. But it ended up kind of falling into coaching, because when I went online and started helping everybody, that's, the industry everybody wanted to get into. So I just kind of followed along. That's
awesome.
The story. I'm sticking to it.
So is it something that, you just explained how it kind of organically came out, but was there ever, before that started organically happening, was there a place in your mind previously where you thought, you know what, I want to eventually get to a point where I am a business mentor and I help other people with it? Or did it just kind of happen and you realized, hey, that's a business?
It just kind of happened. It said just with photographers, and it just grew and it kind of happened. And then I was like, I should have a website. And every time I met with someone, you need to be charging for this. And then there was just too many people. So then that's why I built the membership and the business suite, so I could help as many as possible without burning out, because I've been through the burnout process. It is not fun, and I vowed to never do it again. So the membership process has definitely helped with that 100%. So yeah, it was never part of the big plan. I tend to just follow my passions, and right now that's where it is. So that's where I'm going.
Love it. So what was your first business, the photography business?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what was your biggest obstacle when you first started that business? And then how did that translate to when you first started this one? Was it the same, or did you find different obstacles?
It was so different, because 20 plus years ago, being a woman in the photography world was not thought of. It didn't happen. There were a few women in the States that were pretty big, but I'm talking like Ann Getty's big. I just might have
the first person that came to my mind too.
But the thing is being a local photographer, I was the only female player. And I was never treated with any respect, and I was never, And then the thing was, I would go out for lunch with all the other photographers, and as I was coming, because I started from the bottom and worked my way up, and I'd go out for lunch with a bunch of the guys, and, the waitress would be like, oh, what do you do? And one of our friends would be like, well, I'm a firefighter. And the other one, like, I'm a photographer. And all the waitresses would be like, oh, it was a dirty thing to have a man as a photographer. So when a woman was a photographer, it was definitely new and exciting, but it was really hard to break into the industry to be respected and get out there. With the online world, that was completely different. Again, it wasn't as much of a boys' club, because my goal was to specifically help women, knowing how hard it was for me. And so when you're in the online world, this started a few years ago when women started stepping up to the plate. no longer wanted to just go back to the workforce. So they wanted to start a company from home after having a child or after taking a vacation or something. They were just kind of fed up with the workforce, and I was there to help them out. So it was definitely a lot easier. There is still a lot of online boys clubs when it comes to the coaching world, but women are really, we are taking over. I mean, it's becoming more and more of a, I don't want to say a feminine industry, but it's definitely becoming female strong, and I like it. So that's totally two different vibes starting out, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So then what did you find was the biggest obstacle in the online world then, if it wasn't the same?
Navigating the online world. I mean, for me, that is the biggest obstacle, because with my photography business, it was always face-to-face, every meeting, every networking, every show, everything. I was shooting before, websites were even a thing, were even, at all of a thing. So it's one of those things where it was just navigating the online world outside of social media as a company was definitely a huge learning curve for me. And it's something I'm still learning. And the tech aspect has been, for the past 2 years, a big obstacle. Thank you for being there for me, Kelly, because you have made that a lot easier. But yeah, it's just navigating it's a whole new planet online. So it's what it's taken me.
Truer words were never spoken. I
Yes.
agree. It is totally different. So this actually, you should be very, like, your answer, I'm really interested to hear, because you specifically focus on helping women who are starting out.
Yeah.
If you could only give one piece of advice, and this is where I know it's going to be hard for you because you have many pieces, but if you could only give one piece of advice to a woman just starting her business today, like just saying, okay, I'm doing this, what is your one piece of advice?
Yeah, that is a tough one. I think it's going to be trust your gut. If your gut's telling you to do it, do it. Don't listen to the outside voices, whether they are friends, family, influencers. Do what your intuition, what the universe, what you're being told by yourself is the right thing to do. And everything else will follow. As long as you're not hurting anybody, throwing yourself into debt, throwing anybody else into debt. If you're building a business and that's what your gut is telling you to do it. Go for it. I think I really wish that was what I was given when I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just do it. Don't listen to anybody, just do it.
So, okay. So then there are a lot of myths out there about being a business owner in general, being an online business owner. I think especially in kind of recent times with the pandemic and how many people decided to dive into the business world with no previous experience or desire to be a business owner. Mm-hmm. So, because you have kind of the added aspect of being someone who helps other people get into that, what would you say is a really common myth about being an online business owner, but also being an online coach?
Okay, so I think a common myth about being an online business owner is it's fast and easy. You can just put up a website and people are just going to, send you their money. It doesn't work that way. All of those fancy ads you see on your social media saying, $60,000 in 2 weeks. No, that's the first bit. I have to go with that. And I think the second myth is, let me see that. Okay, so that when it comes to the coaching industry, I think one of the big thing, and this is pretty controversial, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but I do not believe you need to be certified to be a coach. I truly believe that if you're going to get into the coaching industry, you're not just going to pick a random topic that looks like fun and start teaching people how to do it. You're going to be coaching because you want to serve, you want to help people, and you're only going to feel that pull and that drive if you know what you're doing and if you actually believe in what you're doing. So your experience, your life, your story is, everything that you need to help others. So certification isn't going to get clients. It's not what clients care about. They want They want to know how you're going to be able to help them, what transition you're going to make for them. And your certification isn't going to make that transition. Your experience and your life will. So that for me is a big myth. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, but I do not think you need to be certified.
I agree with you. I don't think there's necessarily a detriment to being certified. I think
Yes,
it can boost confidence. It can give you ideas about structure, because just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you know how to teach it effectively, right? So it can be helpful. But if you already have that skill set, I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary.
Exactly. Getting the certification, and that, in my opinion, that's where people who are not leaders is definitely, it's going to help them, because like you said, it's going to help them build structure and know how to better help their clients,
right?
And know which way and learn how to teach. People learn different ways. So how are you going to help people, and different methods that you're going to be able to help others? I think that's where certification is definitely going to be helpful, but I do not think it's absolutely necessary. Not detrimental. I think if you're going for a certification, go for it. I mean, do it. If that's what your gut's telling you to do it. Yeah. But I don't think it's necessary to get started. I mean, you can be getting certified while you're coaching. And you know, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. A lot of the online coaching certification schools or universities, I don't know what you would call them, they require you to be actively coaching and helping people before you can even qualify to take their certification course. So again, don't let not having certification hinder you from getting started if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that not just in, I mean, this happens in multiple industries, but I think in coaching especially, it's possible that sometimes people use those certifications as a way to procrastinate.
Yeah.
As a way to kind of like avoid having to actually take the risk of trying to be a coach. They're like, no, I'm training to be a coach.
Yeah.
And that's a danger. That is a danger, because then you're just like not taking the chance. You're holding yourself back in that way.
You're stuck in someday.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I like that.
Someday is always the one thing that's going to come. So someday I'll get my certification, but then when you do, you might want a different certification. You might want to, grow that or take a specific course on something else. And you end up stuck in someday. And that's the biggest, most common thing that happens with online entrepreneurs in general, right? With the majority of women who want to start their own company, let alone in the coaching industry, it's getting that stuck in someday. When my website is done, I'll start helping people. When I have more content, I'll start writing blogs. No, just do it. Do it.
Yes.
Because you will grow your experience. You will be more knowledgeable and more helpful in the long run. So
yeah, I think this philosophy is one of the shared philosophies that we have that make us business besties, right? It's that concept of messy action, or done is better than perfect. Yep. Doesn't mean you don't aim for perfection. You just don't wait for perfection, because you will never reach it.
And one of the things I have to say, since hanging out with you, is you've pushed me further than you pushed me outside of my box. Hey, I'm on camera right now. Like, that is huge.
Right?
That's
huge.
Huge.
Come on. Anyone who knows you already knows that was my idea.
And for me, I was stuck in someday. I'll go on camera someday. And my poor husband, he would build me sound booths, and we'd buy backdrops, and we would do everything, and it'd be like, and I got stuck in someday from going on camera. So don't let it happen to you, regardless of what it is. Because if you start now, messy action, done is better than perfect, and you kept going, by the time you actually have the confidence and everything, and you're moving forward, all of that is so far behind you that, it's like, have you ever, I'm ranting again, I apologize.
No,
you ever saw that little poster, that motivational poster, a year from now, you would have wished you started today?
Yep.
And that's just it. Start today. Don't get stuck in someday. Get in front of the camera. Start recording the podcast.
And if you need a crutch of another person to make that less scary, I mean, that's the thing, is like all of that getting stuck in someday is all coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
All of it. fear of anything. I mean, there's multiple different things, but like getting stuck in those fears, if you need somebody to come alongside you and support you in that way, well, that's the point of community.
Yeah.
Right? Is to support us in the places where we feel weak. And then we do the same for them. Right?
Mhm.
So absolutely. And maybe that's, you know, where some people come from on the whole, I need to get certified because I need that support. You know, there's a fine line there, right?
Right.
It support with action, you know, and
Yes.
moving forward and not just constantly getting the support. Like, okay, but what are you doing with that support?
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of the key that changes it from being a detriment to being a benefit.
Exactly. Like having that certification isn't going to harm you in any way. It's not going to hurt your company or your business.
Yeah.
But when you say I will move forward when I have it, that certification, that piece of paper isn't what's going to push you outside of your box.
Yep.
It is not what's going to catch you if you fall. And yeah, so that's where that community aspect comes in. And it's been amazing having it. So yeah, that's what I got for that. I'm going to go on a tangent if I keep going.
Hey, we you know we both can. That's super dangerous. So what is the most important lesson that you've learned over your journey as a solopreneur? And I'm going to back up for 1 second, because if anybody that is listening to this has never heard the term solopreneur before and doesn't know what that means, I'm going to just define that really quick. Because I feel like that is, I like to think that I coined that, but I don't think I did. But I know I mainstreamed it in my circle, right? I made it something that we all kind of use. But solopreneur essentially is an entrepreneur that is solely responsible for the success or failure of their business. Does not mean they don't have help.
Mhm.
Certainly doesn't mean that. Doesn't even mean they don't hire people to help them. Doesn't mean they don't have an employee or a consultant or a VA or a whatever it might be. But it means that there's nobody else that shares the responsibility for the success or failure of their business. So kind of qualifying that for a second before going back into this, because I think lessons and challenges and all those things are different between being an entrepreneur and being a solopreneur entrepreneur. They are a little bit different. So what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned over your journey as a solopreneur versus just an entrepreneur?
I would have to say, well, I want to step back and add to that because honestly, I've heard of solopreneur. Sorry, you didn't coin it.
I know.
I'd love to give you credit, but you know, people are going to hear this. So, honesty, one of my 5 words.
Yes, it is. Yes, it was.
I was never big on the word. I didn't like the play on words. Words are words. Yes, words are going to, the vocabularies are going to grow and the language is going to change with time. But I was never supportive, I guess, of that kind of play on words until you and I and our mastermind, until we had a great discussion on solopreneur versus entrepreneur, which really opened my eyes to what you're saying here.
Yeah.
And I have to say that what was the question? My biggest lesson?
Your most important lesson.
Yeah. And my most important lesson has been, as a solopreneur and running my company all on my own, both of them, and I didn't have to do it alone. I needed to pull in when support, whether it was help or, you know, someone to bounce ideas off of, or if it was hiring someone to do my books. Like, that was my biggest lesson, is because I tried doing it alone. And that's when I burned out. That's when I drowned. That's when I had to stop and take a year off. Like, I had to take a full year sabbatical from coaching and shooting because I burned out, because I did everything by myself. And that was kind of, well, it's my show and that's how it is. And yeah, I wish I'd learned at a younger age that it wasn't necessary. So that's my biggest lesson. And I'm not just saying that because I believe so strongly in community now. It's because of that lesson that I firmly believe in community now, and that it is such an important aspect of running a company, whether you're doing it alone or with a partner, or you have 32 employees. Community is so important, and that would be that.
Yeah, agreed. And we will come back to that in a minute, because I know that community is such a big part and support and all of that in your philosophy as well. So we will come back to that in a second. But in your opinion, what is the most important strength or personality trait or quality of someone that somebody needs in order to be successful as a solopreneur?
I think for me, in my opinion, it is going to be to learn how to trust yourself. I think that is so important. And again, it's another lesson I've learned that the outside voices, they're helpful at times, but at times they're not. And to start second guessing yourself because somebody had an opinion or somebody thinks that this is the wrong path, but they can't back up why with anything that really is, worth listening to type thing. That is something that you really have to learn how to do, is to trust yourself, to know and follow your own path. And I'm not saying don't take advice. I'm not saying don't listen to other people and don't communicate with other people. What I'm saying is be open-minded, but know that you will never steer yourself in the wrong direction or guide yourself in the wrong direction on purpose or with intent. You will learn as you go, for sure. You will make mistakes, absolutely, but that is part of the journey, right? So when you stop listening to your gut and you stop trusting your own words, your own, mindset, it's going to stop talking to you. Your gut is going to stop telling you what to do. And that's when you get lost. And that's when you really start to crumble. So yeah, that's my biggest thing, is you have to learn how to trust yourself and your own instincts and your own gut and go with that.
Yeah, I like that. And I really like how what you were just saying about like how if you don't kind of keep doing that, how it's going to fail you kind of thing. And I think that's so true because, making decisions as a solopreneur and even if you're not a decisive personality in general, some people have a hard time making decisions and all of that. And so I think it's great to get advice, but you're right. If you rely too much on other people's advice, then it's like that decisive muscle that is so necessary gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And then you no longer know what you actually think anymore.
Absolutely. I believe
so,
that. And I think not just in business, I think that's in everything that we do as people, right? When you start relying on your partner or somebody else to make decisions for you, to help you decide anything, you definitely lose the confidence. You stop relying on yourself. And then when you decide to make a decision, you're going to start second guessing everything you think, everything you do. And it's just a rabbit hole nobody should get into, especially when you're starting your own company. You're going to have doubt. You're going to have second guessing. Am I doing the right thing? All of these things. But it's one of those things where you need to just have that conversation with yourself and follow through with what's right by you. Again, as I mentioned before, if you're not harming anybody, if you're not going into debt, if you're not, putting your family into debt or at any kind of risk at all, then there's no harm in giving it a go and learning from it. And that's what your gut is telling you to do. So do it.
Yeah.
I say that a lot. I'm sorry.
No, but you're right. And I think the flip side is true as well. Like if you don't use that muscle, it gets weaker, but the more you use it, the stronger and stronger it gets. Absolutely. And then you can start to not have as many of those doubts or learn how to navigate around them, because obviously sometimes we should listen to them because sometimes the doubts are right. But sometimes we shouldn't. And knowing how to navigate that, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So I love that. I love that. Okay. What are 3 books that you would recommend to the wonderful women who are listening right now, and why?
Okay. 3 books. Right out of the gate, has nothing to do with business. I would recommend the book We, A Manifesto for Women Everywhere. It's written by Gillian Anderson. Yes, Scully, written by Gillian Anderson and her friend Jennifer Nadal, who is a an author and journalist. So two different personality types come together. And what the book basically is just, I don't want to call it a self-help book, but it is definitely a self-realization book that every woman, I think it should be mandatory. Every female, every person who identifies as a woman needs to read this book, because it tells you that it's okay to love yourself. It tells you that it's okay to love others and accept and forgiveness. And, you know, it's just all about, you know, women supporting women and loving your everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely on the number one list. Second, I would say, and this is kind of, I get laughed at for this one a lot. I don't know if you know who Stella Adler is.
Yep.
A lot of actors do, but she has a book that came out called The Art of Acting. And it was written after Stella had passed, but it is her acting program in book form. And I recommend that for anybody in business, actually. And when you kind of read this book and you think of how she teaches actors, like she's taught Marlon Brando, Brad Pitt, like some really heavy hits. And her method, if you just kind of take the word acting and think about business and you kind of flip it into that kind of way of thinking, it is an amazing business book, even though it's about acting. But I think if you just kind of view it as, instead of her teaching you how to act and actually teaching you how to run a company, then you might really learn a lot. And well, I think everybody should always read books that they love. So I'm going to go with Harry Potter. The world needs to read Harry Potter. I think all 7 of them. I'm not going to give you just one, but I think
8, because you forgot Cursed Child.
Well, I haven't read that one. I know, I have it.
Okay, side conversation we need to have later, but keep going.
It's the script format. I struggle with it, but
Yeah, fair.
definitely read a book for your life. So I always carry 3 books with me. I always have a book I'm studying, a book I'm reading for fun, and a book that I'm writing. So always have a book that you love and always read. Always. That's what I say. So whether it's Harry Potter or, I don't know, Percy Jackson, and a lot of youth books I read just to escapism is what I actually read them for. So
looking back on your business from not so much the photography business, but let's just talk about Joelene Mills, the business mentor.
Yep.
Looking back on that business to this point, how can you see your community supporting your success?
I think the biggest aspect when it comes to community support, it is just, my community has always been very supportive of me with decision making, with helping with referrals and stuff like that. But I think for me, the biggest way they have supported me is by being there with every celebration and celebrating with me. And that has been the biggest and best part of the community, is even if it's the tiniest things, they've always been there going like, this is a step forward, this is huge. And I think that's my best way to get support. And that's the best thing that the community has done for me, has been doing that.
Yeah, that would be my answer too, honestly. And practical question, where can listeners find you online?
Well, you can find me in the village. So there's the Facebook community we have together, the It Takes a Village Solopreneur Facebook community.
Mm-hmm.
I am also online through my website, jolenemills.com, which there's an E after the O. So, but I'm sure if you just Google it, you'll find it.
And it'll be in the show notes, so they can go just click it.
Fantastic. And the business suite. You'll always find me in the business suite, which again is just a small, tight-knit online membership program that I have, but pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to just sit down and like answer questions. And it's always fun to, like, even though I know you, some of your answers gave me more insight to you and who you are and how you got started with your business. So I'm really appreciative of that. But I also know that so much of what you said is really going to be relatable to our listeners, because I think that there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of people who I think need to hear that struggles are okay and challenges are okay and leaning on other people is okay. And, you know, but that also at the same time, you need to find that piece of yourself that is independent and does have that ability to make a decision, right? Because that is so important. So, so thank you for sharing all of that. And I really appreciate it.
I had a blast. I cannot wait to be on the other end of this. This is definitely, it feels very, I'm having fun. I've been nervous about getting this done and dreading doing this. I'm not going to lie, but oh my God, good times, good times. So I'm looking forward to doing this with others. I mean, you're right. The insight is going to be enlightening. It's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Success Through Community podcast,
where our goal is to support female solopreneurs through community.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you check out the show notes for links, transcripts, and so much more.
And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to the podcast.
Ooh, and don't forget to mention us to your community.
And if you can't wait for the next episode, be sure to join us on Patreon,
where our community is made possible by listeners like you. So thank you so much for your support.
Until next time.